Blessings, a community of spouses. Listen, Coach T here with you this morning, doing my devotion time. My voice is a little bass, got a little bass in my voice. This is my early morning devotion time. And a lot of times I like to start my day by listening to some type of inspiration, listening to some words of encouragement. Doing that, sometimes that would lead me to a Bible verse. I like to listen to worship music. Sometimes the Lord will wake me up with a song. A lot of times He will wake me up with music, and that will lead me to playing some type of worship song. But this morning, I was listening to some words of inspiration, and it led me to the topic for today. One of the things my pastor always emphasized and share with us is the thing a person who is not a believer, or a person who is, in the world, one thing, or a person who is hurting, or a person who is going through suffering or going through hardship, one thing that person needs to see from us as Christians the most is love. They need to be able to see and recognize the Christ in us. And so during my devotion time this morning, that was one of the things that stood out to me. I was reminded about what my pastor said about, what they need to see from us is love. When you are dealing with an unsaved spouse, when you are dealing with a person who Christ is not part of their daily living, Christ is not part of their everyday living, the one thing they absolutely need to see from you is the love of Christ. They need to see Christ in you. And I know we've been talking about, restoration, and talking about, the spouse's return. And what the Lord brought to me was, have you located the weakest link? Have you located the weakest link? Have you located that weakness in yourself? Because you already know what you're going to be up against when that spouse returns. But God is saying, have you made sure that you located your weakest link? Are you in a place where you are secure in yourself? And so he brought me to Matthew 26, verses 41, which says, "Keep watch and pray so that you will not give into temptation. For the spirit is willing, but the body is weak." The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Whatever that weakness is of yours, you have to get that part strengthened. As you prepare for that spouse to return, and they coming with all their stuff, y'all. They coming with all their stuff. They coming with all kinds of baggage. They're coming with all kinds of hurt. They're coming with all kinds of pain. They come with all kinds of worldly things. You have to make sure that you are strengthened in your faith. You have to make sure that you are strengthened in the areas that you may weak. I know, for example, just, using me as an example and just using women in general, we are emotional beings. We are emotional beings. And sometimes the enemy likes to use our emotions against us and play that out in our marital covenants. One thing that I always talk about, and I think I talked about it on here before as well, was a weakness for me was my husband's cell phone. His cell phone. It's like, for some reason, every time I would come around him or come in his space, or come in his wherever, that phone, it's like the enemy knew I was there. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make this phone just like blink, blink, blink. And I'm like, who is all these texts and who are these? And I don't even know if they was texts. They could have been emails. I don't know what it was. But because that was a weakness of mine, the enemy played on that. He played on that. He played on that. Another thing, sometimes, family, like I always say, I can talk about my family, but you don't talk about my family. That could be a weakness. That could be a weakness of yours. Maybe your facial expressions. They always say, fix your face, fix your face. That was a problem for me. I still have to work on my face sometimes. That could be a weakness for you. So whatever your weakness is, you want to make sure that you get that part taken care of, because God needs you to be strong for that spouse. God needs you to be the bigger person. It's not saying that you just allow a person to do whatever and say whatever and just walk all over you. But God is saying, I am preparing you. And the time that your spouse have not been there, this is the time that you're supposed to be working on yourself. This is the time that you're supposed to be strengthening yourself in me. This is the time that you are supposed to be utilizing to get better, to get stronger. So when that spouse comes, you want to be prepared and know exactly what you need to do. You need to know your spouse's language. You need to know your spouse's language. And their love language. Like I said, one of the things I knew for a fact that my spouse, like he absolutely loved to see me like cooking and cleaning, and he wanted, it was a biggie for his space to be clean. He wouldn't say it, but I knew, just being his wife, I knew that this was something that made him feel made him feel secure, made him feel safe, made him feel loved. So I will always make sure that I will welcome him home. I don't have to even use words. I didn't use words most of the time because my words was not always pleasant. And when I said it, I always, sometimes it came off like I was being bossy, and he didn't like that. And so I had to make sure that I spoke his language, and his language was his language is peace. His language is, don't try to make me do anything that I don't want to do. His language was, let me be. I'm here. As long as I'm here, that just let me be. His language was, leave me alone. I want to be comfortable. I want to be okay. I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to be having to talk about something right now that I don't want to talk about. Or that was his language. And sometimes that's hard. That's hard because when you know that things that need to be discussed, or when things that's on the table that need to be talked about, but you have to know your spouse's language. And like I said, with that spouse preparing to come home, with that spouse preparing to come your way, you can't focus so much on the things that they're doing. And that was a biggie for me. Distractions. Focusing on what they doing, who they doing it with, where they at, why they there. That would drive a person crazy. It would drive a person mad, not just crazy. Like, you be right here like, you will run yourself crazy trying to figure that stuff out. So I just want to encourage you on today to locate the weakest link. Locate the weakest link in you. Locate the weakest link in you. Continue to pray. Do not allow temptation. And I know I've been talking about temptation a lot as well, because temptation is big, especially now. Do not allow the temptations of things from the past, the things that you used to do, the things that you used to say, the things that you used to would make your spouse upset or whatever. You have to be completely opposite of what they already know you to be. And you don't want to be fake in that. So the only way you can be your authentic self is by praying and asking God to help you in those areas. Help you to be what you need to be for your spouse. Help you to be strong in the areas that you need to be strong in for them. And ask God to do everything else, because the day is going to come and they're going to return home, and you got to be ready. This thing is not for the weak. Listen, I've been listening to, what's his name? Arnold. I think his name is David Arnold. And one thing he has been saying a lot on his Instagram page is, get yourself one of these things they call a family. It is not for the weak. Listen, get yourself one of those things they call a returned spouse. Listen, it is not for the weak. A spouse who is in the world, who is probably coming back home, and not walking the walk of Christ. You know, they're coming home broken. They're coming home with all their stuff. They're coming home with all their luggage. They're coming home with all the things that they're still dealing with. And God is saying, I need you to be ready. I need you to be ready. Locate the weakest link in you, and then I will do the rest. I hope that message has been a blessing to you. Blessings.